A very merry Paws Christmas and present you with the 2020 Therapeutic Paws of Canada calendar, which includes some of our therapy animals. And your, I gave it to your cohort there so that he would have it already. I wouldn't take any more time. Thank you.
Well done. You had 2 minutes to go.
Oh my goodness. I taught grade 7, 8 special ed. I had to speak really fast or I lost their attention, but I didn't have to go that fast.
Well, we were riveted. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Any questions of clarity from any member of council? Mayor Henderson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The only question you may not have the answer to, and it may rest with the clerk or Mr. Davey for later on. In your value of the market building, do you know if that includes security costs? Is that inclusive of the costs, or is that extra beyond what you're asking?
When I rented it the year before, they charged us $107.35 each time we used it. I have no idea what that includes. We just paid it. And then last year, you paid it. They didn't ask me for anything. We take everything out, we put everything back, and we clean everything up. And we love it that we have a washroom.
Through you, Madam Chair, to His Worship, there is no security costs included with the rental of the market building. Just because it's separate from Victoria Hall, they pick up a key. We have a protocol when it comes to renting out that after hours or during hours of council.
Yeah, we only have it for 2 hours or 3 hours, whatever it was. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Next, Jim Mills will be presenting for Northumberland Community Counselling Center. Welcome, Jim.
Good afternoon. I'm here also with our Executive Director, Andrea Gurney-Bowen. I will be doing a very quick presentation, and then she'll be doing the balance of it. Whether you know it or not, our funding has been cut back by 2.5% by the provincial government. We are now up from 480 referrals to 560 referrals so far this year. 39% of our referrals come from the town of Cobourg. We have 67 people waiting for intake at this point in time. One of the things that we do, if you cannot afford to pay, we will take you in regardless of the fact. I just want to read you one thing very quickly. The NCCC is Northumberland County's Violence Against Women agency. We provide expert trauma-informed psychotherapeutic counseling. We need to be here to help women directly referred to us from other agencies who seek specialized therapy for secondary conditions caused by underlying VAW issues uncovered in the course of the treatment. I just want to read you about one client that we have. Her name was Amanda. She suffered terribly at the hands of her father and spouse from the age of 6. By the time she began therapy at NCCC, she was in a very fragile state. Her anxiety and severe panic attacks controlled her life. She was cutting herself. Very intensive cognitive behavioral therapy, she began to feel stronger and better able to cope with her memories and flashbacks. This is what she says: "I didn't realize how much my childhood affected me. By doing the hard work and intensive therapy at NCCC, I now have the strength to face my nightmares. I'm beginning to live and cope with the trauma I went through. As a domestic violence and suicide survivor, I can guarantee that if it wasn't for the NCC, I would not be alive today." I'm going to turn it over to Andrea.
Thank you. Hello. Thank you so much for hearing us today. I'm just going to follow up with a little bit of information about NCCC. So for those of you who don't know us, we're a very small organization. We have 2.5 clinicians and myself, so we're very tiny. We're doing a lot with a little. And the reality that we're facing is that we simply cannot meet the demands of the community. So with each year, with each month, our waiting list grows. We're filling in the gaps for other organizations such as Children's Mental Health that have an 18-month waiting list. And we're really committed to that process. We really want to make sure that we're providing services to families in our community. And so within that, I've developed a plan to try and address our waiting list, and I'm hoping that the town of Cobourg can support us in doing that. Because if we don't have the support of our community, we simply won't be able to offer community counseling to people who cannot afford to pay. But our three-pronged approach offers psychoeducational group programming to address the #1 mental health issue facing Canadians, which is anxiety. So we know 25% of Canadians are dealing with anxiety. The example that Jim gave was one of our most common examples. We do a lot of work with violence against women. We do a lot of intense trauma work. But we also work with the average Cobourg resident who is struggling with anxiety or depression. And those are the services that we don't want to lose and that we're hoping to get some support from the town. The second approach is supportive groups for parents. So I'm hearing more and more, I'm hearing from our police boards and I'm hearing from the community that we have a drug crisis. We have youth on our streets using drugs, having conduct issues, getting involved with crime. I think we really need to work as a community to support those families, provide treatment for those youth, but also provide support and treatment for the families, for the parents. And I'd like to do some preventative work, right? I'm looking to the town to do some preventative work so we can also work with young families so that they don't get to that point with their kids. So 2 different types of groups. And thirdly, trauma-informed care. Unfortunately, the government funding we receive gives people a certain number of sessions to do really intensive trauma work. And these are people who may have had extremely complex mental health issues related to childhood adversity. So that's what we're looking for today, and we're looking for our community is to support us in doing that work and to recognize that as a small agency, we really simply can't move forward in the way that we are doing so. I did prepare something that I wanted to give everyone to take with them, but I'd certainly be open to questions at this point. I don't know, how am I doing for time?
You've got 1:50 left.
Okay. We're asking for 20,000. It's a big ask. It's a big ask, and we'd certainly be happy with any contribution. But to offer the programs that I've just mentioned, to do that group programming for parents of teenagers, for parents of young children, and to have a really big impact on our community, that's what it takes.
Thank you, Andrea. Any questions, Councillor Bureau?
Thank you for your presentation today.
You're welcome.
How long is the waiting list?
It's about 4 months. So what we're doing is we've started a workshop series, a monthly workshop series, and where people, for example, we've started to do a workshop on stress and anxiety, hoping that people who are waiting can at least do that. But that's what we're looking at right now.
Councillor Beattie?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Your cuts in government funding, is that from the county VIII service funds or mental health funds?
We've had a MCSS cut. That's been across the province. We've also, sort of over, my understanding is over the past several years, we've lost funding from other sources. But part of the issue is about cuts, but also the issue is about increasing referrals. Right, more and more people are needing our help.
Thank you, Andrea. Seeing none, we will be deliberating in January, so on January the 9th and possibly January the 10th. And that goes for everyone. No decisions will be made this evening, but thank you very much for your presentation. And
thank you.
Okay.
Can I
you can give them to Mr. Davey there. Moving on, we have Transition House Coalition of Northumberland. I don't have, please introduce yourself when you come forward. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me to speak about Transition House Emergency Shelter and our request for assistance with our electrical service bill from Lakeland, which is approximately $1,000 a month.
Sorry, could I have your name, please?
I'm just getting there. My name's Catherine White, and I'm on the board of directors of Transition House, and I've been involved with this particular agency for about 7 years. But I also have a long history, both professionally and in a volunteer capacity, with the many and varied concerns regarding housing, homelessness, trauma, and addiction for about 20 years. I'm also a former street nurse working with people who are marginalized, homeless, and precariously housed. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about Transition House, our operation, and why we're asking for your assistance. Transition House is a 22-bed low-barrier emergency shelter in Coburg on Chapel Street, where it's been located for approximately 17 years. It is the only homeless shelter in all of Northumberland County. Since last October, over 140 people have walked through our doors, needing a safe place to sleep, food, and most importantly, respect, support, and compassion. Transition House has provided 5,500 nights of shelter for our neighbors in this community who have nowhere else to go. We are at 100% capacity, and we're turning away 3 to 4 people every day. It costs $500,000 or more at a conservative estimate to run this shelter every year. And each year, our allocated funding from the county leaves us with an annual operating deficit of approximately $150,000 or more. This translates into 2,500 nights of safe shelter for people in need. We do have generous support from private donors and many supporters in the community, and we apply for grants and funding opportunities as they arise, as we're doing now, for some relief with our yearly electrical bill. So who do we serve? The people who come to us often have very high needs, and their stories are very difficult to hear. Most of the people who come to our shelter come with terrible baggage. Many are chronically and repeatedly homeless. Almost all of them have been traumatized, some from a very early age. They have no voice, no agency, no one wants to hear them, and few want anything to do with them. They're frequently ill, physically and mentally. They need help finding appropriate housing, as well as help with all their physical needs, addictions, and mental health issues. Their feelings of self-worth and self-efficacy are near zero. We all need to understand people who are homeless have lost more than their homes. They've lost their personal identity, their dignity, their control over their life structures, and their hopes and plans for the future. They're stigmatized and marginalized, and they are a very easy target to blame for all the systemic problems and ills in the community. They have no voice, they can't fight back, they're really easy to kick. And of course, the shelter provides a safe place to sleep, but our staff go beyond that, providing care, case management, connection to appropriate helping resources. We have outreach workers from mental health, addictions, income supports, employment, and health come directly to the shelter rather than having residents make their way to various agencies all over town. We use a housing first approach. We understand very well that before a person can address their physical and emotional health, heal from addictions, or bounce forward from a setback, they first need a place to call home. Of course, this theory works best when there's an adequate supply on a variety of affordable, safe, and decent housing. And we know that the housing vacancy in Northumberland is approximately 0.3%. So with record high rental costs and record low vacancy rates, there's nowhere to live in our community, so it's not completely encouraging. However, assistance with housing searches, coaching on skills for maintaining tenancy, access to rent supplements, budgeting, and food preparation skills are part of the supports we provide. And do we see successes? Yes, we certainly do. 4 people moved out of our shelter last week to permanent housing, with agency supports needed to help them maintain that housing. Another resident has just received a good job offer, full-time. And with the help of our staff, many of our residents are honing their computer skills and updating their resumes on a computer that's especially designated for resident use, a computer obtained through the generosity of United Way. Our staff approaches everyone walking through our door with dignity and respect. One resident who recently was able to pull his life together sent us a note. He said, "Without the fantastic staff at Transition House who treated me like a real person, not a derelict, I would never have made it through this crisis." Individuals who are homeless and come to the shelter frequently bear the burden of stigmatization, as do the services that support them. There's still an all too prevalent opinion that people who are homeless have somehow brought their misfortune on themselves by making poor choices. Now, I can say that choice is what you have when you have access to all the social determinants of health. Basic needs such as food security, access to adequate income, education, health care, safe housing. If you don't have access to those basic needs, your options are very limited, and people make choices based on what's available to them. An understanding of the effects of early and long-standing trauma on this population are poorly understood, and they're often seen as undeserving. This view does impact the community willingness to place their donation dollars with the shelter, and it has been for a very long time an uphill battle to maintain this service that more and more is becoming an essential service and a safety net for our community. And that's why I'm here today, to support our request for a community grant to assist us in paying our electrical bill, to keep the porch lights on at Transition House, and to continue to be sort of a beacon of hope for our most vulnerable citizens. We do very difficult work, and we're proud to do this work, and we do it on your behalf. And we would be honored and grateful to have the town's assistance in this work. Thank you. How am I doing?
You did really well. Thank you. Right on time, actually.
Oh, no
Councillor-
questions then.
No, we allowed a little bit for questions. Councillor Beattie, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you for your presentation. I definitely appreciate the work that Transition House does. Just a point of clarification, your application notes that the average cost of $1,000 per month for hydro and water is the single highest expense from Transition House has. Does that say you're spending more on hydro and water than you are on staff costs on a monthly basis?
No. The highest cost is always staffing, but it's the highest monthly.
So outside of staffing?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, just wanted to clarify what we have here in our notes.
Any other questions? Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Darling?
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation. I truly appreciate what you do. You mentioned you're a low barrier
That's correct.
residence. Could you give me a quick definition on low barrier?
A low barrier shelter allows people in who have difficulties with addictions, and so while living in Transition House, no one is allowed to use drugs or alcohol. People that have that difficulty and may come back to the house that they've had a drink or so, or that they've injected something or they've taken something, are still allowed to stay so long as their behavior doesn't put anyone at risk. So that's the definition.
Very good, thank you.
Any other questions from members of council? Thank you very much, Catherine. Next, we have Northumberland Learning Connection. And who will be presenting for that? Oh.
I have a PowerPoint. I'm just...
I won't start the timer till he gets it up there.
Thank you.
Right at the top.
Good afternoon, Madam Deputy Mayor Seguin and council members. My name is Christine Kwiatkowski, and I'm here on behalf of the Northumberland Learning Connection. We are grateful to have this opportunity to introduce NLC to you and to share the outstanding work that NLC has done to promote Cobourg as a community that fosters an exciting and innovative approach to lifelong learning. I hope to seek your support for the first time as we move into our 15th year of bringing new world ideas to Cobourg. My husband and I moved to Cobourg 2 years ago, not knowing a soul, but determined to meet new people and get involved with all that Cobourg has to offer. To our surprise and delight, we read about a lecture series on Russia that the Northumberland Learning Connection was offering in the fall of 2017. And having just visited Russia, we were impressed with the credentials of the lineup of speakers that were promised. NLC did not disappoint. In 2005, a group of residents, spearheaded by founder Joanna Bonebacker, wanted to bring to Coburg what was envisioned as a continuing education program that would meet the needs of the residents of Coburg who had inquiring minds and were curious about world issues. Now in our 15th year, NLC is exceptionally proud of the 30 series we have brought to Coburg with resounding success. Our public claim is that Northumberland Learning Connection is where ideas interconnect. Our goal is to offer an innovative, intellectual, and enjoyable approach to lifelong learning right here in our own community. Every spring and fall, NLC presents lectures and seminars on thought-provoking topics from the worlds of arts and culture, pure science, medicine, the environment, and more. In addition to the 30 series, we have held pop-up forums on one-off subjects, as well as offered special events, such as the unique opportunity to explore the Chinese community in Markham during our China Dream series, a specially guided tour of the Canoe Museum during our Rivers series, and a sold-out authentic kitchen party, complete with renowned Newfoundland music and storytellers at the conclusion of our Newfoundland Damnedest Hullabaloo series. Our current series on artificial intelligence has not been only timely given what is happening in the world with telecom giants and nation states, but has also been sold out for many of the lectures. And wait till you see what's coming in the spring. A series consists of 6 weeks of lectures and seminars held on Thursday and Friday morning. In addition to the lectures, each series has a robust question and answer portion where our audiences probe deeper into the subject matter with the expert and attempt to get their curiosity satisfied. What garners NLC the most respect is the outstanding quality of the guest speakers. We look far and wide to bring the best to Coburg, folks who are preeminent in their field, be they professors, researchers, scientists, journalists, ambassadors, or public figures. They present the most current knowledge, research, policy, practice, or legislation. They are experts. Speakers are offered an honorarium, overnight accommodation if required, and travel expenses. NLC audiences are citizens who are anxious to participate locally in continuing education. They are typically 55 plus and represent a microcosm of diverse professions and world experiences. They have come to expect the best. As one of our speakers on artificial intelligence recently noted, and I quote, "I would advise speakers to bring their A game when they appear in front of NLC audiences." This year, we sold approximately 2,500 tickets for our spring and fall series. Clearly, we meet a need in Coburg for an outstanding and enjoyable approach to lifelong learning. It takes a year to adequately prepare for a series. Our program committee, comprising of folks in our community from various disciplines, selects the topic, extensively researches the experts on the topic, talks to people, talks to more people, travels, and uses Skype-like technology to interview prospective speakers, and then presents to our board for final approval. The how we will make it happen and how much will it cost part of the equation then begins its formulation. NLC is a not-for-profit organization. Ticket sales predominantly fund most of our expenses. Private donations, corporate sponsors, local business establishments, and in-kind donations also support our efforts. However, sometimes it's not enough. This spring, our exceptionally well-timed series on Alberta, entitled Alberta the Maverick Province, will require a considerable financial boost. We were thrilled that we could entice the Honourable Preston Manning to come to Coburg as our opening guest speaker on April 2nd, 2020 at Victoria Hall.
One minute left.
Who better than Alberta's native son to paint the picture of its dynastic policies from the beginning and to set the scene for what is to come in the following 5 weeks? This will be the largest event in our history, and hence the need to ask Council for financial support to help cover the costs. So what is the extent of NLC's footprint in Cobourg? Firstly, we are proud to promote Cobourg as a community that provides compelling, informative, and intellectual lectures successfully year after year. Our ticket prices are affordable for all. Our audiences continue to grow. We are attracting a young business community who sees the value of our goals. We provide revenue for the community in the spaces we rent, the technicians we hire, the local events we sponsor, and the promotional materials we circulate listing our sponsor support. We advertise NLC and Cobourg on the radio, social media, magazines, and other print materials. In a recent conversation, Mr. Manning himself stated, "I have spoken to many groups across the country, but I must say that what you are doing here in Cobourg is unique in Canada, one of a kind." In closing, I'm here to respectfully request Cobourg Council's financial support in the amount of $3,000 for the 2020 NLC series, and hopefully to welcome you as a vital sponsor and supporter of the Northumberland Learning Connection, where ideas interconnect. On behalf of the Northumberland Learning Connection Board of Directors, thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor, and your committee for your consideration of our request.
Thank you, Christine. Any questions? Councillor Beattie?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Your program sounds exciting. Just to clarify, the request is for a sponsorship for a workshop series where they are ticketed events. You are selling, you have a point of revenue through ticket sales for
Correct.
the program.
Councillor Darling, followed by the Mayor.
Yes, I'm just going to follow up on Councillor B's question. You said in your presentation, affordable tickets. What is the ticket price, or does it fluctuate depending on the series?
No, it doesn't fluctuate. It does change if you buy them in bulk and ahead of time, ahead of a certain date. We do have a discount for packages of 10 or 20, depending on what you purchase.
What is that ticket price?
Well, for an individual ticket, it would be $20 for an evening, but you get the 10% discount when you buy in bulk.
Mayor Henderson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for your presentation. I know each key speaker comes at a different rate based on who the speaker is, he or she, and their prominence. Can you give me a ballpark figure if you have a paramount speakers such as the Honorable Preston Manning, when you talk of travel, accommodation, speaking fee? Can you give me a ballpark figure of what that might look like?
Other than Preston Manning, we pay typically between $300 and $500 for their honorarium. On the more expensive side, our board members will billet the speaker to save accommodation costs and food costs. And then typically between $300 and $500. Mr. Manning will be $10,000 plus travel expenses.
Any other questions?
I just might mention we're piggybacking him on another event he has in Toronto, which is why we got him a little cheaper than you get through the Speakers Bureau.
Thanks, Christine.
Thank you.
Our next presenter is Sounds of the Next Generation song.
My name is Trish Dryden, and I'm the chair of the volunteer board of Sounds of the Next Generation. Good afternoon, Deputy Mayor Seguin, Mayor Henderson, councillors, and of course, fellow citizens. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Music changes lives. It helps us find our courage, our voice, and our place in the world. We think everyone deserves to have music in their lives, but not everyone does. With ongoing support of the town of Cobourg, Song is better able to help change that. Our respectful request to you this year is for our inaugural Senior Choir and String Orchestra and Youth Mentorship Program. Now in our 7th season, Song continues to provide free, socially inclusive, after-school choral and string rehearsals for children in both Cobourg and Port Hope in grades 1 to 6, up to 4 times per week. This year, we are adding new program for youth in grades 7 to 9 as they transition to high school. It is our plan to continue to grow song programs for children and youth from grades 1 through high school by adding a couple of grades in each of the next few years. Research from a 2019 large-scale Canadian study, and this had 112,000 students in it in grades 7 to 12 in BC, concluded that children and youth engaged in ensemble music education have stronger social development skills, as well as academic achievement and civic engagement, than their non-musical peers. The researchers concluded that ensemble music education helps children and youth build skills and confidence, learn self-regulation, become more resilient, and experience being part of a community, all while engaged in joyful music making. This robust study also concluded that more frequent and consistent opportunities for ensemble music education from elementary through to high school increase students' academic exam scores across all subject areas, not just math, all subject areas, as well as increase the benefits of positive social bonding and self-efficacy. In fact, by grade 10, youth in consistent ensemble music education were academically a year ahead of their non-musical peers. And this cuts across gender and socioeconomic background. And we know from earlier studies that youth in music programs like songs are also 3 times more likely to go to post-secondary. Song students are also having a ton of fun while learning skills that we know strengthen the executive function of the brain, such as problem solving, and build social skills and translate well into all other aspects of song kids' lives. For example, one young person, now in grade 9, who has been in song since the beginning, told me recently that she is thinking about going to college or university after high school. She told me that she would like to become a music teacher. If this happens, she will proudly be the first in her family to go to post-secondary. Once a very shy child with complex learning challenges who struggled to make friends, this young person is now learning and demonstrating amazing leadership skills by volunteering to help with the younger children in the program, and she has also developed lifelong relationships with her peers in the new senior choir, and she is now singing once a month with our adult mentoring choir, Safe Harbor. She told me she wants to be just like these amazing community-engaged and compassionate adult women in the choir. She also told me that she feels that maybe now her grades in school will also enable her to go to post-secondary. Another young person in the new senior choir who now stands a head taller than his favorite mentor in Safe Harbor, after going through a bit of a personal rough patch with his transition to adolescence, he hung in with us and is now mentoring the younger students. He is developing a stunning, rich baritone voice, and he is skillfully playing his full-size string instrument with the Northumberland Orchestra and Choir, who are great partners with us. He too has developed lifelong friends and mentors and has a powerful work ethic. Once struggling with emotional self-regulation, he has become the gentle, determined, and kind young man we always saw within him. In our partnerships with local organizations like Rebound Child and Youth Services, we are hoping to encourage young people in the new program to seek additional help with their academic skills if needed, as another pathway to helping youth reach their greatest potential. A song family with several children in the program suffered a very tragic family loss a number of years ago, and the children have stayed in the program while going through some very difficult times. Sometimes very angry, sometimes very sad, and sometimes very withdrawn. Song instructors patiently engaged these children in song rehearsals and performances as they grew into their adolescence. This year has seen a remarkable change. Now also heading into a senior choir, these young people are stronger, more resilient, more outgoing, and just more consistently happy. They too are delighted to help to mentor the younger children. Obviously, it's not all because of song, but many of these youth will tell you that song continues to be a big part of their growth and their happiness. Song is now over 90 students strong, One of our choral instructors recently reminded me that when song started 6 years ago, we had 3 kids. In the past year, we've increased the number of our adult volunteers. We hired an additional string teacher in thanks to, in part, from our grant last year from the town of Cobourg. And we renewed our relationships this year with the principals and teachers in the schools so that we have a more consistent and steady flow of newcomers to song, kids who really need to be there.
1 minute, Trish.
Thank you. And we have hired a dynamic young choral instructor in Cobourg. Every dollar for song needs to be raised, and every dollar goes to professional music instruction, music, string instruments, T-shirts, transportation, and healthy snacks, and a very small stipend to an admin assistant who keeps the registration process going. 2.5% of our total operating budget came from government last year. We have the same ask into Port Hope. In conclusion, we know that the demands on the municipality for community funds is high, and we stand before you with deep respect for the tough decisions you're going to make. We also know that song is having a powerful impact for good. Music education matters. We hope you will consider continuing to help us change lives one rehearsal at a time. Thank you. I'd be happy to answer questions.
Thank you so much. Councillor Beattie? Oh, sorry, I thought Mayor Henderson?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for your presentation. I won't labor the point, but being a former principal, I understand the importance of programs that are not fully supported in our school system, and I have seen firsthand with additional resources what that does academically through metrics. I can't speak for other schools, but when I did the arts extended program, it was the highest percentage in my school of gain, both attitude and academically across the board. So what you're saying, at least from my research, is accurate. So here's my question. I know that there are viable programs often in secondary schools starting in grade 9. However, I know depending on the school and assets, there's very few programs to a high level in intermediate grades 7 and 8. So my question is, I see on your request it's grades 7, 8, and 9. So my question is, if you were to refocus that just on 7 and grade 8 because of all the lack of assets, I'm just asking, in any way would that change your request to this council?
Thank you, Mayor Henderson, for that comment. You know, we really have looked carefully at the research and believe that it is actually the long road that we need to stay on, because of the program that we're offering is highly specialized for kids with very particular learning needs and other exceptionalities. And our sense is that programs publicly funded will continue to be eroded, and that we don't want to abandon the kids that we have in the program now, and we in fact could expand. So we would like to stay the course and keep building. It may be more slowly. It depends on how quickly we can raise the funds.
Any other questions from members of council? Seeing none, thank you very much, Trish. We appreciate you coming forward.
Thank you.
Our next presenter is for La Jeunesse Choirs. You guys don't look like a Brian. That's who I have on here. No?
Brian?
Brian Malcolm?
No.
No?
No.
Okay. So, my apologies. Please introduce yourselves.
Good afternoon. We represent La Jeunesse Choirs. With me is Ann Burnham. She is the secretary. And I am Denise Raymond. I'm the treasurer for La Jeunesse Choirs. La Jeunesse has 3 choirs for children, boys and girls, ages 7 to 19. We have a junior choir, a training choir, as well as a senior choir. And we also offer a music theater intensive option, which features some acting and dance as well as singing. We hold our practices and many of our concerts at Trinity United Church, and we currently have about 40 choristers. Our organization is celebrating its 30th year of operation in 2019, and we are planning some special events to celebrate this milestone. We have 2 part-time paid staff, a music director and an accompanist, as well as a very part-time administrator. Our dedicated and highly qualified staff provide our choristers with excellent musical training. Our children develop a lifelong love of music. They learn discipline and self-confidence, as well as having fun. Many of our choristers have gone on to pursue a career in the performing arts, and we're going to ask some of those alumni to come back for our 30th anniversary celebrations. On a personal level, my own granddaughter was in La Jeunesse, and I saw her just blossom when she was there. She gained a tremendous amount of confidence, and that enabled her to audition for and obtain several roles in local theater productions. La Jeunesse holds 2 concerts every year, one in the fall and one in the spring. Every second year, we also stage a musical production. Last year, we staged a production of Disney's Lion King Jr., which was a big success. We had virtually all our shows, 4 shows sold out. The town of Cobourg gave us a grant towards the cost of renting Victoria Hall. This helped make the production a financial success, and we are very grateful for this support from the town of Cobourg. We have many dedicated board members, parents and grandparents who help with fundraising. We run bingos, we sell chocolates, poinsettias, and carry out many other fundraisers. Unfortunately, this is not enough to cover all our operating costs, such as rent and part-time salaries. So we must charge our choristers a yearly fee for participating in the choirs. We try hard to keep these fees as low as possible, and in fact, they have not increased in several years. We also offer subsidies for lower-income families. This year, we are asking the town of Cobourg for a $2,000 grant. This would be partly used to cover fee subsidies for the lower-income families, and partly to cover the cost of a new laptop and cell phone. Until this year, our office administrator has been using her own cell phone and her own laptop. This means that if the administrator changes, our telephone number changes as well, and we have to transfer the computer data from one computer to another. Having our own laptop and cell phone would greatly streamline our day-to-day operations. We believe this grant will make La Jeunesse better able to serve the needs of Cobourg and Northumberland County families. We are most grateful for past support from the town of Cobourg, and we hope you will consider our 2019 grant application. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Denise. Anne, are you adding to that or no? Any questions from members of council? Mayor Henderson, followed by Councillor Charlie.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did attend your concert last year. It was phenomenal. When you put on a show, can you tell me what your average stay or how long the show would typically run at Victoria Halls, or a set number of days or evenings that you aim for?
Thank you. Lion King Jr. was 4 performances over Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and that's probably as long as we would go.
Councillor Charlie.
Thank you, Denise and Anne, for your presentation. You've requested $1,200 to help subsidize children from families in need. I'm just wondering what your fees are for children participating and how far that $1,200 is going to stretch in terms of how many children it will subsidize.
It's approximately $500 for one child for the year. Some children are eligible for the full amount, some for a partial subsidy depending on their family income. So the $1,200 would probably help 3, perhaps 4 children.
Any other questions? Thank you very much for both of you for what you do and for coming forward and We wish you all the luck.
Thank you.
Take care.
for your time.
Our next presenter is the Ontario Senior Games 55 Plus Senior District 12.
Deputy Mayor, Mayor Henderson, and councillors. My name is Eva Ferguson. I'm the District 12 Coordinator for the Ontario Senior Games Association, a not-for-profit organization. And my colleague, Pat Helsel, is here in the front row. She's just recently joined our board as treasurer. Each year we promote an active lifestyle for the 55 plus by organizing anywhere from 10 to 15 events or activities for them to participate in a friendly and sociable environment. And no doubt each of you recognize the benefit of physical activity for seniors. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention a few of them. It can range from better mental health or improved cognitive function, social engagement, reducing the risk of high blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes, and also fosters an independent lifestyle. And if I understand the 2016 census correctly, Cobourg has one of the highest proportions of senior population, if not just in Ontario, in Canada as well. We have requested a grant of $250, and that would be used to help defray the costs of staging these events. And our expenses are, in the most part, administrative. While we do have some hard costs where we print registration forms and posters, rack cards, that kind of thing, we also have to purchase medals, and we also have a cost for website administration. However, our event conveners do make a concerted effort to minimize our expenses. They communicate and promote electronically, and most of our hospitality is donated as well. Our District 12 committee is based in Cobourg. However, we do reach out and draw participants from Kawartha Lakes, Peterborough, and Northumberland counties. So we are, in essence, promoting the town, and we proudly boast the appeal of Cobourg. Some of our events are more social in nature, like bid euchre or cribbage. Some are a little bit more physical. They're like carpet bowling and lawn bowling would be an example of that. And still others are even more competitive. If you're a tennis player or a pickleball player, you'd appreciate that. However, all of our events do have an element of competition, as they are considered qualifiers by the OSGA. And by that I mean our medalists have the opportunity to move forward and compete at either the regional level or the Ontario level. And ultimately then they'd have the possibility of competing at the Canada Senior Games as well. In fact, we actually had one individual who excelled at the Ontario Games, went on and won a gold medal in golf at the Canada Games in St. John just last summer. In the spring, we're planning even more events, so there will be additional opportunities for participants to compete at the Provincial Summer Games being hosted by the City of Peterborough in August 2020. However, that will surely increase our organizational costs. As you know, the pride and prestige of participating at the Ontario level was certainly acknowledged and understood when Cobourg hosted the Provincial Winter Games in 2017. Our seniors do pay a minimal entry fee, and we encourage them to participate in multiple events so they get better value for their money. However, we do tread a very fine financial line. We want to continue providing events that appeal to a broad spectrum of seniors and at a rate that they can afford, and of course can currently cover our admin costs in an attempt to be self-sustaining. In the past, the town of Cobourg has been kind enough to waive rental fees for the gymnasium and some of the other rooms at the Cobourg Community Centre. Not only does this have a very significant value to us, it may very well have been the most important element to the success of our games. We truly need the support from you, and without it, it's doubtful we could continue. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today, and I'd be very pleased to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Eva. Are there any questions from members of council? I guess you covered all those questions.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next presenter is Rick Miller from the Marie Dressler Foundation. Welcome, Rick.
Thank you. There we go. Okay, good afternoon, Deputy Mayor Seguin, Mayor Henderson, councillors, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rick Miller. I'm here, I represent the Board of Directors of Marie Dressler Foundation. I'm here today to talk about the vision for revitalizing Marie Dressler House and the need for the town's financial participation. What is revitalization? It's the adaptive reuse or repurposing of a built heritage asset while respecting the history of what happened there. Without revitalization, the built heritage asset is at risk of losing its relevance to the community and consequently the support for its continued maintenance. Revitalization requires a commitment of preserving history, and it requires investment of resources on an ongoing basis. This vision for revitalization of the town's built heritage asset was created by our foundation. There's some history here about Marie Dressler House. The built heritage asset has been owned by the town of Cobourg since the restoration in 1990. Aside from the house being a fine example of early Ontario cottage, the property's historical legacy is as the birthplace of Academy Award winner Marie Dressler. Secondarily, celebrated Cobourg resident Lena Field Fisher, who's seen in the picture here, operated a tea-room fine dining restaurant in this location starting in 1937 for more than 3 decades. Marie Dressler Foundation has been in existence since 1990. We're governed by a volunteer board of directors. We own and operate Marie Dressler Museum located in Marie Dressler House. Our fundraising events include the Vintage Film Festival, Rearview Dock Fest, Celebrate Marie Dressler events. And for the past 25 years, we've supported graduating high school students across the county by awarding bursaries and funding other educational programs. One of the objects of the Foundation's letters patent approved by the Charities Directorate is to operate a museum honoring Marie Dressler and other Canadians in the film industry. The project to revitalize Marie Dressler House is completely aligned with these objects of our charity. The project itself. The project is to expand the scope of Marie Dressler Museum to include Canada's women film pioneers and other Canadians in the film industry. This will be done by creating a permanent exhibition for Mary Pickford, Norma Shearer, who will join their friend Marie Dressler in her birthplace home. Secondly, to celebrate the powerful influence these Canadian women had in early Hollywood. Thirdly, to create a platform to celebrate accomplishments of other Canadian women in film. We want to create a visitor experience that's educational and inspirational. Importantly, we want to provide a signpost that shows the historical journey for women in film and connects with today's efforts to achieve gender equity in front of and behind the camera. These Canadian-born women are the only 3 women to have received an Academy Award for Best Actress in the 90-year history of the Academy. They knew each other. Marie and Norma both worked for MGM Studios. And most importantly, what they had in common was the way they advanced the film industry in a time when opportunities for women were limited. Here's a layout of Marie Dressler house floor plan. Currently, the area in red is the only part that's occupied in the house. The rest is vacant. And you'll see the exhibition space that's envisaged for Mary Pickford and Norma Shearer in the areas in blue and guest reception area in yellow. Some minor renovations will be required to convert the areas outlined in blue and purple from small offices to open areas, and that's required before any improvements are applied to the premises. When the renovations are complete, the Mary Pickford space will look identical to the Marie Dressler Museum, and the Norma Shearer space will be slightly smaller. Improvements to the house include investment in engineered hardwood flooring, new low-energy, low-UV track lighting, and painting of the exhibition and entrance areas. Here's a picture of a portion of the Marie Dressler Museum as it exists today. So the look and feel in the museum would be continued for the expansion. Now here's the important part in terms of the numbers. Our project is outlined here. We've launched the $284,000 campaign to build Canada's Women Film Pioneers exhibition to make this revitalization a reality. The largest budget category, exhibition materials, includes the displays and signage, audiovisual technology, artifacts for exhibition, which includes images, film clips, documents, etc. Thanks to the exceptionally generous in-kind contribution of our partners, whom I will mention shortly, we've secured 57% of our goal. The requested community grant represents 5.3% of the total budget. So of that 284,
Rick, you've got 35 seconds left.
Okay, of that total budget, we've raised $162,000. Those are our partners, and they've been very generous in their in-kind contributions. So in summary, this project's the first opportunity for Council to demonstrate its commitment to the Cultural Master Plan by funding the project, which has cultural value to the community. The creation of a captivating new attraction supports Experience Cobourg. The project is revitalizing a built heritage asset owned by the town. The total investment of $282,000 by the foundation is significant, and a tangible financial commitment from the town is a prerequisite for obtaining other public sector and private funding. So we've considered the fiscal restraints, and we respectfully request a grant in the amount of $15,000. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Are there any questions from members of Council? Councillor Chorley.
Thank you, Rick, for your presentation. Can you inform Council how many visitors did you have to the museum this year, rough estimate, and how many do you anticipate to come once the new exhibition opens?
I don't have the visitor statistics with me, but I would say in the summer months we experienced a few hundred per month. On days when there were walking tours, we would often get people to stop in. We would have some groups. In this kind of weather where we have now, where there isn't walk-by traffic, it is very, very modest. We're only open on weekends. We haven't done our projections for the coming year. That's part of the work that's being done by the design team. But we would expect a considerable uptick because, quite frankly, the attraction of Canada's only 3 Canadian Oscar winners, the only place in Canada where this exhibition would be housed, would be a more compelling attraction to Cobourg, and therefore we would expect it to be much higher.
Mayor Henderson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. My only question to you, Rick, is I know when we often speak of federal-provincial partnerships, they do want to see the municipality being part of that partnership. Has the federal-provincial set a standard or a minimum amount they're requesting in that partnership? Has that dollar value been given to you yet?
No specific amount has been given to us yet in response to your question. We are in the process of applying for a federal grant, and of course there's gearing ratios that they expect, to cover only a portion of it. The province will say we only cover the portion that's not covered by somebody else. Our own community grant guidelines here have a percentage that the town's participation can't exceed, which is pretty much met in this case. So I think it's a matter of is the community investing in something that is perceived to benefit the community from a cultural and tourist point of view? And if so, that gives the other granting agencies, plus private funders, you know, if we're approaching other funding agencies, one of the first questions asked is, A, how much have you put in yourself? And secondly, what's happening in your community? So no specific amount.
Any other questions? And I'm assuming, as it is the case now, that there'll be no admission fee for the new revamped museum?
That is the current plan.
Not seeing any other questions. Thank you very much, Rick. We appreciate your help coming forward. Our next presenter is Cobourg Museum Foundation. Joan, will you be presenting?
Deputy Mayor Seguin and members of council, thank you for the opportunity to present. We've been here before, and I know most of you have been to our site, but I just wanted to give a little background because there are always some new people that don't know, but we were incorporated as a Cobourg Museum Foundation in 2000. And at that time, it was envisioned that the board would develop a center for research and study of local history, create awareness by residents and visitors of local history, and foster cooperation with other groups and objectives that would support or complement the activities there. The initial goal of the board was to acquire, restore, and preserve the limestone structure known as, at that time, as the barracks, and to develop there a heritage center that would be a repository for artifacts and archival materials. As well, we envisioned that we would be an educational center for workshops, lectures, and a tourism destination for our community. We did a strategic planning exercise in 2006, and we developed a very short vision statement telling Cobourg's story. Now, since 2012, when we opened for our first summer season, our exhibit team have presented new exhibits each season. We want to encourage local citizens to visit and learn something new or more about the growth of their community, as well give the visitors a taste of the unique history of this area. Thanks to the federal summer student employment programs, students have been able to record the stories represented on all our panels, and they can now be accessed on our website. I hope all of you have been to that website. We realized that summer 2019 season would be challenging. The construction of the adjoining Legion development blocked some of our visibility. It certainly affected parking. The construction noise and the litter issues also created a non-inviting atmosphere for staff and for visitors. Thankfully, we had put flags overhead, and some 2,000 visitors found us for the summer. We tracked how people found the location, and we were pleased to learn that many had been visitors to our website, as well as are being including in the Cobourg publicity publications has been a benefit. But many of the visitors just came upon our site as they were out walking in town. Most visitors were from Toronto area, but also we had some bus tours and student classes that toured. We have a very active exhibit team who are busy year-round, lining up exciting themes and themed exhibits that focus on the story of former residents of Cobourg who now rest in local cemeteries has been selected for 2020. Should be an interesting summer. Continuing exhibits to be featured as space allowed will be the architectural exhibits. The children's area is always popular, and the train story plus the herb garden create interest. Following up on our 2014 military exhibit team, we are working alongside the community partner group with the project to erect a statue to commemorate the life of former local citizen Fern Blodgett Sunday and her role in the Battle of the Atlantic. Operating similarly to other heritage or museum sites in Ontario, we do not charge admission, but we do encourage residents, visitors, to leave a donation as they leave the premises. $2,000 of the grant provided by the town for 2019 was used to supplement the cost of our 2 summer students. We were fortunate to be able to hire youth who had strong interest in history, as well as excellent computer skills, and that enabled us to use technology to enhance our outreach capacity. They had energetic, vibrant personalities and created a pleasant visitor atmosphere, and were a pleasure for our board to work with. There are no soffits and gutters on the old limestone building, and that was not a cost that could be completed with the initial restoration. But we were aware, and we have been aware for several years now, that the board would need to attend to this important detail in order to prevent water damage to the soft limestone material. The board members were of the opinion last year that we should give priority to this work, but we did not anticipate the complexity of the project. Our area is small, and the building is very close to the street line. And when it came obvious that the details of the project could not be concluded in 2019, the funds that the town allocated to us for this purpose were not used for other purposes, but rather placed in reserve.
1 minute, Joan.
Thank you. Our restoration maintenance director, Al Seymour, applied for the town building permit and has just recently gone out to seek quotes. Our 2020 request to the town is that we be granted relief from municipal taxes, which are around $4,000, $2,000 to supplement the wages for our 2 students, and $4,000 towards the cost of the roof project. Added to the reserve $2,500, that would provide us $6,500 towards the expense, which we know will be at least possibly $5,000 more at this time. The remaining $3,000 of the projected operating deficit of $2,500 will present a challenge to us. However, I can assure you that that roof project must have priority. And the board members, with the assistance of our members, some 80 or more, and the broader community, will work diligently to ensure that the work is done and that the additional funds are received to cover the cost. Now, we just have a few slides that we'd like to...
Sorry, you're out of time.
I'm out of time for slides. I think there's only 6 of them.
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
I've got to be fair to everyone. Joan, just stay up at the podium in case there are questions. Sorry. Are there any questions? Mayor Henderson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just in your first slide, Joan, it indicate your grand opening could be May 18th, but when I checked my calendar, that's the 16th. So I'm just curious, is on Saturday? Because if it's May 18th, that would be Monday. That would be Victoria Day Monday.
Okay, that would be last year that we had our opening, so we didn't get the date changed. This was a picture from 2019. Okay, so opening for this year will be again on Victoria Day weekend.
Sorry, it was the 18th. We had the date wrong on that slide.
Stanley, you're usually on top of this stuff.
I think we had the date wrong on that particular slide.
Yeah, okay. Any other questions for Joan? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next presenter is from the Help Center. presenters.
Good afternoon. Thank you for this opportunity to share about the Help Center and its English as a Second Language ESL program. My name is Sarah Forrest, and I am the ESL facilitator. With me today is Shaza, one of our learners. We are here to speak about our application for the Municipal Community Grant, in which we requested $8,000 to support our program for the increasing need as this program grows. The Help Center is a nonprofit agency that was founded in 1983. Although the agency is small in size, it is large in its community impact, and with a small staff, we deliver a wide variety of services and programs. One of these programs is ESL, which was a collaborative effort that began with numerous organizations who recognized the need to offer an English class to newcomers in the county. Our approach to teaching English from the beginner level to the advanced level is unique. It highlights achievement through support and involvement in community for adult learners who are eager to contribute to their new life in Canada. The ESL class is offered at Trinity United Church, where we have 12 dedicated volunteer tutors who come to the class Monday through Thursday on varying days. The connections that develop throughout the 2 hours of class or on our out-of-class adventures create a friendly, uplifting atmosphere and community. We have served 91 learners since the beginning of the program and 31 learners in this past year. We also offer one-on-one tutoring for those who are unable to attend the class. At the heart of our ESL program is inclusive acceptance, and we have readily welcomed learners from all over the world, Afghanistan to Venezuela. Through the years, we have had the pleasure of advocating for many learners as they move on from our program with confidence towards employment, volunteering, as well as other English programs that help them to further their education. Each day, we practice English speaking, reading, writing, and listening, plus current events. Most recently, Remembrance Day, with many of our learners, tutors, and myself attending the ceremony in Victoria Park together. We believe that encouraging involvement in the community allows for the exploration of local surroundings. We ventured out of the classroom to learn about historical museums that narrate how Canada's communities developed, gone for walks in the forest, which can be frightening, only to become a place of wonder, and visits to local amusement and cultural spaces, all discoveries to learn more about themselves, other people, and the area they live in. However, all that I've shared only addresses the facts. I would now like to acknowledge the dedication and determination of our learners. Imagine moving to a new country, a place with a different language, different customs, another way of life. You enroll in the local community-based English program and meet the program coordinator. You say to the coordinator that you wish to communicate in English with people, your children's teachers, your neighbors, people in shops. The first day you walk nervously into the classroom. There are people talking and smiling from around the world. They come over to greet you. Hello, hi, my name is, and in a timid voice you reply, hello. You start to feel accepted and sit down. The class begins. The facilitator says, good morning. Today is, we have a new learner joining us. Day after day, week after week, you continue to show up and try. New words, new sounds, and new ways of reading and writing on the page. Little by little, you start to understand. Soon you can go to the store and ask for help. Soon you can have a conversation with your neighbor. Soon you have a job, and you are participating freely. And then the day comes when it is you who is confidently smiling and welcoming a new learner who has arrived for their first class. This is the story of many of our learners and how being able to communicate in English is so important. How being understood and understanding others must be established in a safe, open environment, a space that inhabits joyful learning. Over and over in our classroom, I witness how this circle of welcoming demonstrates that if we extend our hand out in greeting, there might be less confusion, and fear can grow into kind curiosity. When I shared with the group that we would be presenting today, learners, tutors, as well as family and friends showed up. How fortunate are we that their unfailing support of the Help Center's ESL program, a program where English is taught while also championing learners as they become engaged in their community and Canada, the place they now call home. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share more about the Help Center's English as a Second Language program. We look forward to your continued support. Thank you, and now here is Shaza.
Good afternoon. ESL is very important for me. Same as the air for me. Why? Because I want to complete my life here. I can't come back to my country. And I want to connect with people. And I want to speak with my grandson. Because he is Canadian. Please support us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sarah, if you just stay up there for a minute. Any questions from members of council? Well done. Thank you very much. Our next presenter is Leona Woods, the Fern Blodgett Sunday Commemoration. Welcome, Leona.
Thank you. My name's Leona Woods, and I'm here today representing a small group of citizens, 3 of whom are here also, Peter Delante, Laura Ebrel, Stanley Isherwood, and we're working in partnership with the Coburg Museum Foundation. We're committed to honoring Fern Blodgett Sunda, a Coburg girl and a trailblazer. Because of the context in which she led the way, we also honor the service of our veterans in the Battle of the Atlantic. Fern's story captured my imagination, and when others learn about her, they are impressed. Fern's fortitude and determination to become the first Canadian female wireless radio operator, a Sparks, and the first Canadian female to serve at sea during World War II is inspirational. Fern was raised in Coburg and often went down to the lake to watch the ships, dreaming of working at sea someday as a sailor. The Blodgetts lived at 299 George Street, and Fern attended Coburg Collegiate before heading to Toronto to work. When World War II started, Fern decided to become a wireless radio operator, but was rejected by 2 schools because they didn't admit women, and they weren't going to start then, before she graduated from the Radio College of Canada as the first Canadian female wireless radio operator. She was the first in her field. The Canadian and British Navies wouldn't hire a woman in that role, but the Norwegian Merchant Marine was desperate, and so the Mosedale hired her. In fact, the Norwegian Merchant Navy hired 22 additional Canadian female wireless radio operators over the course of the war, and Fern blazed a trail for them. Fern is worthy of recognition for breaking down barriers, but she did this within the context of World War II, and this made her a hero. She made 78 crossings of the Atlantic, avoiding submarines, receiving and sending coded messages, and earning respect and admiration because of her professionalism. She showed courage and determination in the face of incredible danger. Other merchant marines and veterans who've heard her story are impressed with her bravery and service. Fern represents more than this for me, though. She captures all the young people with whom I've worked who have unrelentingly pursued their dreams in the face of formidable obstacles. I'm confident that when the youth see her statue and read her story, they will see themselves in her and will be inspired as they head out onto their own frontiers. Fern was the only woman in a crew of 36 living in less than ideal conditions, on duty for 12 to 14 hours, listening for U-boats, torpedoes, and SOS signals. As the war drew to an end, she admitted that everyone's nerves were frayed. The Battle of the Atlantic continued, and a second and third operator, both male, were hired, and she was in charge. In 1942, after the Mosedale sister ship was sunk off the coast of Ireland, Fern and Captain Sunda decided to get married as chances of survival to the end of the war were slim. And in 1943, Fern was awarded the Norwegian War Medal by the King of Norway, the first Canadian and the first female to be so honored, recognized for her courage and commitment to the Allied war effort. The Mosedale survived the war, and Fern lived to be 73.
So, a Citizens Steering Committee, in partnership with the Coburg Museum Foundation, is committed to recognizing Fern Sunda's achievements as the first Canadian female wireless radio operator, the first female to serve at sea in this role, a veteran who served with others in the Merchant Marine during the Battle of the Atlantic, a hero, a Coburg girl, and a Canadian who made a difference. We're asking for an in-kind grant of $5,000 for the base of the statue and some landscaping to be done before the life-size bronze is erected in the meditation garden at the east end of Victoria Hall. We're also requesting $2,000 for the unveiling ceremony, which will be a celebration open to all, recognizing Fern Blodgett Sunday and the Canadian veterans who fought in the Battle of the Atlantic. We need the grant. Last year, you gave us a conditional in-kind grant of $5,000, which allowed us to apply for government and foundation grant requests. And to date, we've raised $46,000 in cash and pledges. So the estimated cost is $97,235. We have submitted a grant request of $25,000 to the Department of Veterans Affairs. Local fundraising began in February, and we have received support from the W. Garfield Weston Foundation and the Dalglish Family Foundation, and we are continuing to apply for more donations. The unveiling will be October 17th, 2020. The timing of this commemoration is perfect. Fern mirrors what is happening now in Canada, where women are being encouraged to pursue careers in science, technology, and trades. Women's roles in wars and war stories of their service are being told in books and film. October is Women's History Month, and 2020 is the 75th anniversary of the end of World War II. This statue will honor Fern Blodgett Sunda and all others who served in the Allied forces in World War II, and it will highlight the contributions and sacrifices that members of the Merchant Marine made during the Battle of the Atlantic. It will be a destination, part of Experience Coburg, and the unveiling will attract between 500 and 1,000 people who will contribute to the economy of the town. There are very few statues in Canada commemorating women's wartime service, and this is our opportunity as citizens of Canada to honor a hero from our town with all that she represents on behalf of all Canadians. So with the support of the Town Council, Coburg will once again be a town that remembers. On behalf of all Canadians, Coburg will recognize the courage, determination, and resilience of Fern Blodgett Sunda, the first Canadian female wireless radio operator within the context of the Battle of the Atlantic, a trailblazer and a hero with a statue overlooking the lake in a town that she loved. So thank you, Deputy Mayor, and councillors for your attention. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Leona. Any questions from members of council? Seeing none from council, I do have one. When you presented to council in July of 2018, the cost of the statue was $135,000. Has anything significant? I mean, your total costs are now $97,000. Can you explain that difference?
Yes. What we decided to do, we had submitted a request for a government grant for a significant amount of the cost of the statue, and we didn't get that grant because they'd spent most of their money, they said, on Armistice 18. And so because we didn't get that significant grant, we consulted with the sculptor, Tyler Favell, and we asked him to reconfigure or reconsider what the statue might look like. So he did, and he designed still a life-size bronze statue of Fern Blodgett. And the cost of the statue will be $75,000 with $9,500 in HST to bronze it. And so the actual cost will be around $84,500, including the delivery and everything else. So the change in the design of the statue is around a design where Fern was standing on a ship with waves coming over the side of the ship. And now she's going to be standing on the ship, but the ship will be sort of a more slender design, and there will be
some representational waves as opposed to anything else, but the actual figure will be the same.
Thanks a lot, Leona. We look forward to hearing more, but thank you for coming today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Our next presentation is from Horizons of Friendship.
I don't think they like us. Opa. All right.
Go forward on that. Oh, okay, just that one. Okay.
Good to go? Greetings, Council. Greetings, Mayor, Deputy Mayor. My name is Daniel Casada. I'm here on behalf of Horizons of Friendship. To my left, I have my colleague Ellen Mead, and we're representing Horizons of Friendship today. Horizons of Friendship, for those who don't know, is a charitable international development organization. Our mission is simple. We want to eliminate poverty and injustice in Central America and Mexico. We also do have some work here in Canada, which we'll get to momentarily. Brief history. We were founded in Cobourg, Ontario in 1973 by a local priest by the name of Father Tim Coughlin and a local lawyer, David Stewart, and Christine Stewart, who was the MP here for some time. We're now proudly based here out of Cobourg, Ontario, where we carry out our mission in Central America and Mexico. We have 5 thematic areas that we work in: community health, food sovereignty, migration, Indigenous and Afro-Descendants rights, violence against women, and femicide. But here in the region in Northumberland County, we work with temporary foreign workers, that is, migrant workers. Every year, between 100 to 300 migrant workers arrive to Northumberland County. Around 20 to 40 will arrive right here directly to Cobourg. Migrant workers largely hail from Mexico, from Guatemala, from the Caribbean, and they come here through the Temporary Foreign Worker Program, which is a federal program which brings in workers from abroad to fill labor gaps here in Canada. Migrant workers mainly work on apple and vegetable farms and food processing plants here in Northumberland and in Cobourg. Upon arrival to Canada, migrant workers face a number of challenges, including culture shock, isolation, difficult work-life balances, language barriers, especially the Guatemalan and Mexican workers who only speak, for the most part, Spanish. Additionally, there's a general unawareness amongst migrant workers of how to access basic resources in the community: health services, legal services. This is emphasized in the report titled "The Health of Temporary Foreign Workers in Canada" by Bukala and Salami and colleagues, published in 2015 in the Canadian Journal of Public Health. So what do we do? What do we do about these challenges in our community that these temporary foreign workers or migrant workers face? Well, we've teamed up with the Port Hope Community Health Centre to provide health clinics. With the Northumberland Community Legal Centre, we've teamed up with them to provide legal clinics, both in English and in Spanish. Both these services are offered. We've been offering a number of different workshops around the Canada Pension Plan. But a lot of migrant workers who are reaching that age of retirement, they don't know how to access their Canada Pension Plan. These workshops give them an opportunity to begin planning for retirement, as many of us do. We also offer a number of social activities: welcome dinners, farewell dinners, lunches, a variety of different opportunities for migrant workers to connect with each other and for members of our community. And then we also provide ongoing support as needed. If somebody needs help at the hospital with translation, if somebody needs help at a local business with translation, or if there's anything we can do to facilitate a migrant worker's stay here in Northumberland County and in Cobourg, we take that opportunity. This isn't done just by Horizons of Friendship. We see ourselves as facilitators in the community. We've teamed up with the Northumberland Hispanic Cultural Club, with a variety of faith-based organizations, with the Port Hope Community Health Centre, like I mentioned, the Legal Centre, like I'd mentioned. Northumberland County and the New Canadian Centre have chipped in the past to support this program. And we're hoping that we can count on the support of the town of Cobourg to help these members of our community. I'll now pass off the microphone to my colleague, Ellen, who will speak a bit about our local event, Writers and Friends.
Good afternoon. Horizons of Friendship has been running the Writers and Friends event for 25 years now. We bring 3 or 4 prominent writers to Cobourg, Port Hope every year for the afternoon with about 130 participants for author readings, discussions, book signings, and Q&As. It's a very popular event, and it draws participants from the local communities of Port Hope and Cobourg, as well as further afield and throughout Ontario and into Quebec as well. And many of the participants that come back year after year. It's also one of the most important fundraising events that Horizons has. It raises $15,000 a year for support of our programs in Central America and Mexico. And we're proud to say that over 90% of the fundraising that we do goes directly to the communities that we support. So this slide shows our 2018 roster, which focused on 4 writers. The event was for mystery writers, so all of these are mystery and thriller writers, ranging from Donna Morrissey, who writes in settings like the coastal Newfoundland area, Jack Batten and Robert Rottenberg, who write crime thrillers, and Beverly McLaughlin, who's of course a former Canadian Chief Justice and writes legal thrillers. Now, what did I do with the... Oh, thanks. Oh, thank you. And 2019, an event that was run just a couple of months ago in in Cobourg. The last one was in Port Hope, and this was our 25th anniversary event, featuring 3 authors ranging from historical nonfiction, and Giller Prize nominees and Giller Prize winners. Many of these writers, all of these writers, have been nominated by many of the Canadian programs for writers in Canada.
1 minute left, Ellen.
I just wanted to pass over the microphone to my colleague for the next slide.
And so the question is, well, what are we asking for here? Grant request of $3,500 for our migrant worker outreach program to cover things such as care packages, to fund our CPP workshops and training sessions for workers, food for welcome dinners, and transportation for migrant workers. And then for the Writers and Friends, we need help funding the advertising and printing, writers' transportation and accommodations, and venue rental costs. I'm happy to answer any questions now.
Thank you both. Any questions from members of council? Mayor Henderson?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for your presentation. Just my curiosity, when you do run the Writers and Friends, as you did last year, is that over a day or a series of days?
It's over an afternoon.
Councillor Beattie?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. How many people will be directly impacted through the support to the workshops? And is Writers and Friends a ticketed event, and where are you hosting it in 2020?
It's going to be hosted in Cobourg.
At what venue?
We're not sure at this point. It usually features about 130 participants, and the ticket price last year was $40 per ticket.
Regards to the workshops, the CPB workshops or the income tax workshops we've run in the past, anywhere from 15 to 50 people will come out to these events. Sometimes it's very difficult for the workers to come to us here in Cobourg, given that they're all the way from Wesleyville to Brighton and all the way north up to Bailey-Borough. So sometimes we take the workshops to them, and in those cases we can reach everybody on those farms. And at a farm there could be 4 up to 50, 60 workers on a farm.
Any other questions from members of council? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Our next presenters are from the Cobourg Lawn Bowling Club. Donna? Yes, okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Nancy Fargo, and I'm the current president of the Cobourg Lawn Bowling Club. My partner here is Bill Arthur, past president. I'd like to thank the Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and Council for the opportunity to speak regarding our in-kind request for $40 parking passes on Queen and Church Streets from Victoria Day weekend to Thanksgiving when meters are in effect. Since parking meters were introduced, the town, recognizing the club's need for parking, has issued parking passes for these two streets. The passes are used by the Coburg Lawn Bowling Club members and visitors only when they are engaged in club activities. Passes must be signed for and returned immediately after use. The club keeps a record of usage and bases the community grant application on those records. Most other sporting venues in Coburg have free parking, making passes available to the club vital in retaining and encouraging membership for the Coburg Lawn Bowling Club. Additionally, the club hosts tournaments where players from clubs anywhere between Toronto and Kingston participate. Tournaments are an important source of revenue for the club. The players pay to play, they pay for gas, and quite often go to dinner before they drive home. However, if they had to pay another $14 to park all day, they would probably look for a tournament elsewhere where parking is free, which is, for the most part, almost every other lawn bowling club. This would reduce the number of participants and, over time, our ability to host tournaments. We host school programs, a successful youth program, hosting the Provincial Youth Championship this year, outreach programs with community living, retirement homes, Probus, Rotary, etc., where paying for parking would be detrimental to the participation and program itself. In the last 4 years, the club has hosted 3 provincial championships, and without parking passes, the club would not be able to do that. Championships bring players and visitors to the club, which not only benefits the club, but the town's hotels and restaurants. The Coburg Lawn Bowling Club has been a staple in the town, enhancing Victoria Park since 1907. We're self-sufficient and strive to continue to be through thorough financial management. Parking permits give lawn bowlers the same benefits as users of other sports facilities in towns, balls, soccer, hockey, etc. We provide an opportunity for young and old to play a sport that once learned is a sport for life. That's it. Any questions?
Oh,
that's your job. I'm sorry.
Well, my job changes a lot every day.
Sorry.
Are there any questions from members of council? We know how hard you guys work. I drive by there almost every day in the summer. So thank you for presenting, and we look forward to going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Our next presenters are from the Victoria Hall Volunteers.
Good afternoon. I'm Fran Richardson, and I'm the current president of VHV. I'm not going to go into a history of Victoria Hall Volunteers, as I understand our past president last year did that quite extensively, and I'm sure you know quite a bit about us anyway. I'm just making sure we get this right. Good. Our mandate, as you are well aware, is to assist the town in the preservation of this wonderful building. That's what we're here for. We have also provided at different times when you have required certain items that you've given to us on a wish list, we will then provide that for you out of the funds that we raise. This building, as our past mayor and our current mayor has indicated, we would not be standing here today if it was not for the Victoria Hall Volunteers, as quite a bit of money has been raised over the years and given for that process. We also conduct tours of this building, and we have found that a number of people who are coming to the province now that it is a heritage place are definitely wanting to see what's inside as well as what is outside. In 2019, we hosted 2 very successful, well, we hosted one, the other one is coming up, very good fundraisers, the Susanna Moody one, Fact and Fiction, which drew a full house, and we have a Bonnie Scottish Christmas, which is coming up on December 13th, and that has been sold out actually since almost the tickets went on sale. So we know that we will have a successful fundraiser there. It also gives us the opportunity when we have these fundraisers to show off the hall, which is also part of our mandate. Our recent donations of a large amount have been lighting and repair of the gallery. We've quite a bit of money has gone to the art gallery. We put the new globes in, which you can see throughout the building. And of course, recently we donated $15,000 towards the new clock mechanism, and I know everybody in town is thrilled to have the clock working as well as it is. Over the years, Victoria Hall volunteers have given quite a bit of money, both on very large items and on very small items. As you can see, there are times when it's been $10,000 and it's been times when it's been $82 for something. But it's what council has put and the administration has put forward as their wish list. Going down in the around the early part of the 2000 decade, we have been giving a number of quite a bit of money. Again, the clock restoration, of course, and a number of other items that you can see, again, large and small. And fairly recently, there have been other items, sound systems. The concert hall itself has needed quite a bit of restoration on the floor, which $20,000 from VHV went to. And up to the recent times, you can see that there have been quite a number of grants that have been provided. So we really are looking, shall we say, our total grants have been well over $300,000 in the years since we've been together. What we are planning this year in May, on May 2nd, it will be quite a large activity, and it's going to be called A Hall So Grand with Hugh Brewster. And there will be it'll be a classy event we're planning on. That's May 2nd. And in October, Rob Michael will be doing Coburg Then and Now. And that will be October 28th. And what you know that Rob has some wonderful slides and a lot of imagination. And we're going to talk about what Coburg looked like in those days and what Coburg looks like now. So your next point is, well, why do we need the grant money? Well, the grant money is basically for the hall rental, it's for security, and for meeting space. So we're asking for $5,000 in kind. We are not asking for any cash at all. We're asking $5,000 in kind, and you will get that back many times over. For instance, we already have pledged $20,000 towards the cost of refurbishing the front pillars and the front door. And if it so happens you need a little more, you may be able to ask us for that. So thank you very much for allowing us to make this presentation.
Thank you very much. Fran, any questions? Mayor Henderson?
Through you, Madam Chair. Thank you, as always, for a great presentation. I was listening carefully. I caught the date for Mr. Michael. I believe you said October 28th.
I believe that's what it is. I can check.
And I missed the date for Mr. Brewster. I heard
May 2nd.
May 2nd. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much, and thank you so much for your good work. I'm looking forward to the Christmas event. I was one of the early ones that got 2 tickets. So
great. I believe the mayor is attending also. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Our next presenters are Northumberland Orchestra Society. Orchestra.
Good afternoon. Madam Chair, Mayor Henderson, members of council, thank you very much. We'd like to begin by thanking you for your grant last year and to empathize with you on the decisions that you have to make this year. By my count, as we go through this, it's well over $80,000 already. We are the Northumberland Orchestra and Choir. We are a symphonic orchestra and choir performing in Coburg. That's a little hard to read. We are completely volunteer driven. We have no paid staff other than our 7 music professionals. We perform in Cobourg. We are classified as local community semi-professional, and all of our concerts are held at Trinity United. We are hoping at some point in time to also do stuff at Victoria Hall, but we are here. Your grants help us put together our performances, our celebrations, and to extend to the people in Northumberland and in Cobourg the fact that there is a future after high school in music. For those of you that know, this is some of what we do. That is the local bursaries going out to high school graduates last year. We work with a number of different organizations, one of whom the president of the board, Trish Dryden, is here, Song. We've worked with Kawartha Lake Singers, Oriana Singers. Last year, we did something a little different. We went out and, with the help of the Ontario government, brought in Molly Johnson. And that concert was quite remarkable because we had roughly, well, not roughly, we had 550 people. That was the capacity of Trinity United. It was one of our biggest concerts ever. And there were a lot of people that came from out of town to Cobourg and spent their money here. And we think that that's one of the biggest attractions for the Northumberland Orchestra and Choir. We will bring people here. This year, in February, we've got Quartetto Gelato coming. And so buy your tickets now, because it's going to be sold out as well. What that does is that helps us put together the music for the rest of the year with the rest of the community. And it's a very, very good program. We are one of the few choir and symphonic orchestra combinations in the province and in the country. And Cobourg has it here. We're starting to do a lot more work with the younger kids. There's been a lot of talk about how music doesn't truly exist anymore in schools. Trish Dryden spoke very, very eloquently about how music helped kids with all ranges of education, not just math. But I will tell you, practically, that if you can teach a child music, you will teach them how to count, you will teach them fractions from a whole note to a 16th note, and you will teach them discipline. And you will teach them that at some point in time, you have to do the work, because you can't do any better until you practice. And that's why we have this impact here. We continue to mentor youth. We continue to mentor with the high schools in town. We make necessary accommodations for people that have disabilities. We want to be accessible to everybody in Cobourg. And once again, we are here. We perform in Trinity, and this is our home. We make great music in a beautiful place. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any questions from members of council? I guess you impressed us all, and we have no questions, and good luck on seeing how all this divides up.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Take care. Again, the next presenter is Ross from Les Amis.
Les Amis. Thank you very much, Madam Chair, councillors. My name is Ross Peugeot, and I'm a member of the Les Amis Organizing Committee. Les Amis is one of the great, apparently, stock of artistic organizations we have in Cobourg in the Northumberland area. Our mission and vision is great art through great music, always. That's where we really try to push our brand. And we have a charitable status. The organization has charitable status. And Les Amis actually started in Toronto, and it's been there for 35 years, and then brought to Cobourg when the composer, international composer Michael Peppa, whom I will introduce in just a moment, and the artistic director and founder of Les Amis, moved to Cobourg, I believe it was about 3 or 4 years ago. And what I would like to do is just introduce you to Michael Peppa, and he will talk a little bit about our program and some of the musicians that we are able to bring to Cobourg. Michael?
Thank you, Ross. Les Amis actually stands for musical friends. And my musical friends have been around for over 50 years, I have to say. The current crop is actually kind of second generation of musical friends, because as you can see, these young musicians who are actually serving as artistic advisors to me in programming and bringing other musical friends to perform with them. They are not even close to 50 years old, so this is the second generation. Lynn Kuo, for example, who, and by the way, they have been with me for quite a few years now. Lynn Kuo is the assistant concertmaster of the National Ballet Orchestra. Right now, I received word from her that she was appointed to be the professor of violin at the Memorial University in Newfoundland for the next 4 months, starting in January. Erica Crino, internationally known pianist, is part of our artistic advisor team. She is also working at the University of Toronto. Rachel Mercer, the cellist, is the principal cellist of the National Arts Centre Orchestra, and Joyce Lai is the concertmaster of the Canadian Sinfonietta, which has celebrated its 20th anniversary now, and I've been lucky to be associated with the orchestra as the composer in residence all that time for the 20 years. I can't go into all the performers because the family is probably close to 100 performers, these kinds of performers, so I may just highlight a few. Last year, during the 2019 season, for example, it opened up in January, on January 13th, with the full orchestra, the Canadian Sinfonietta, who is, the orchestra is a professional orchestra stationed in Toronto, and they came over to actually celebrate my 80th anniversary, and my friends Rachel, Lynn Kuo, Erica Crino, and Joyce were the soloists with the orchestra. There are so many performers, and I won't take that much time, but I'll just mention that Lynn Kuo will be back in March, coming back from Newfoundland to perform a recital with Kevin Lau, who is a well-known young composer. He wrote the score for the film The Little Prince, and he also wrote the score for the National Ballet Orchestra for The Little Prince. We have also commissioned him. Yeah, we have to go faster, he said. Kevin Lau is going to write a new sonata for violin and piano, and that will be performed in March.
Just wanted to say that most of the concerts for Les Amis happen at the Loft in the small, intimate venue, and but we're planning, and we've already had a concert at Victoria Hall. We're planning this season to have 2 concerts at Victoria Hall, and next season 3 concerts at Victoria Hall. The notion is to grow into that venue and to bring that kind of level of capability in the arts to Cobourg. We have had some sold-out concerts in the past, and we anticipate having sold-out concerts in the future. Our strategy is to, like many of the other arts communities here in Cobourg, to make Cobourg a destination, a beacon for the arts. And we want to attract patrons from the larger cities. And our business model is to have ticket returns, sponsorships, and apply for grants. The grant we're applying for from the town of Cobourg is $5,000, which would go towards performers' fees. And last slide, we've received very positive feedback from our patrons. Performers love playing in Cobourg, certainly in the intimate loft, but at the Victoria Hall, absolutely. And we believe that our success is tied to Cobourg's success. Thank you very much.
Thank you both, Ross and Michael. I was there for your 80th birthday. That was quite a night. Just any questions from members of council for either Ross or Michael? Seeing none, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you very much.
We will now hear from Northumberland 89.7 FM.
Good afternoon, Madam Deputy Mayor Seguin, Your Worship, Mayor John Henderson, and esteemed councillors. Thank you for seeing me this afternoon. My name is Barry Johnson. I'm a volunteer at Northumberland 89.7. I am the secretary for the board as well as being, let's say, the chair for this committee for the summer music series. I think. Northumberland 89.7 is a volunteer-operated, non-for-profit based radio station located on Elgin Street in Cobourg, Ontario. It does not have charity status, and we get our funding through grants, donations, advertising, and fundraising campaigns. Northumberland 89.7 provides local news, opinions, covers events, and is the only station that actively and broadcasts local artists and local music. Actually, on the way in tonight, I heard a couple of, there's one, Hill and Landing, probably a popular duo in their early teens. They were on the radio again today. And we also provide full streaming on internet services for coverage in other parts. We have a small wattage broadcast of 700 watts, which gives us a range pretty much throughout all of Northumberland, and potentially 50,000 or so potential listeners. We offer live news coverage on specific events, including elections, live broadcasts for events, local advertising campaigns for local businesses, and quite a bit of FaceTime down at the market, at the Circle. Local support for local communities, wherever it is, and we're quite active in the summertime around those things. The Summer Music Series was a brainchild of a small group that formed an ad hoc committee in 2015 to try to provide a venue for young, upcoming, aspiring musicians. And we came to you earlier, and you provided the band shell at no charge to us. Thank you very much. And we got about 35 people a night out for a series of 6 or 7 concerts in 2015. Kind of a dismal start, but it was a start nonetheless. Going through to 2019, we've taken that ad hoc group, and it is now very much a formalized committee, and we provide an opportunity for musicians of all backgrounds to perform with your support at the Victoria Bandshell every Wednesday evening, all summer long, starting at the beginning of July through to the end of August. And this past summer, we were averaging 170 attendees per evening, and which works out to 1,200 people this summer that we entertained. All the musicians are given the opportunity for on-air interviews. Their names and their logos are put on our websites, on our posters and rack cards. We're very much into promoting local talents. And we play their music at every opportunity. There is a process that we have put into place. It's already started. The application process online will start on December 15th and run through to February 14th, where applicants will submit their MP3 files and fill in a document that tells us a little bit about themselves and where they live and what kind of music they play. The evaluation process kicks in after the 14th, and we check for suitability for music for all ages, diversity of music, local musician content, and professionalism. The final selection of artists, of which there will probably be more than 8. We're going to start doubling up a little bit on the front end, if we can. Will be completed by March 15th. Last year, we had the opportunity to run a 50-50 lottery, which generated $1,450 towards the radio station costs and gave $1,450 back to the community. And that was spread over the 8 concerts. Our success metrics target is reaching 250 attendees per evening. I'm running out of time quickly, I can hear. And entertaining local residents, giving the opportunity for local musicians to play the bandshell, increased visibility for the radio station, and the ability to pay all the musicians. Our promotions go through rack cards, radio advertising, sponsorships, on-air interviews, promoting musicians on their websites, through the Cobourg event calendar, snapped coverage, and Northumberland news coverage. Our budget seems to be increasing. We start each year with $0. The budget, as you see there, is a total of $7,000 in revenue, and our expenses are approximately $7,000. The Cobourg Summer Music Series benefits for the community mean increased high-quality, visible musical entertainment at the Victoria Bandshell, increased opportunity for local businesses, for services and products, increased visibility for Cobourg as a center of musical entertainment, and we feel that the Summer Music Series aligns itself very well with Cobourg's cultural master plan because it's a reoccurring musical festival that contributes to the animation of public space, bringing entertainment, new experiences, and economic impact to the community.
1 minute, Barry.
Thank you very much. Our ask is that Northumberland 89.7 is granted in-kind use of the Victoria Bandshell for 8 concerts, which equals $720. I talked to Jackie Chapman-Davis, Community Events Coordinator, and she said it was $90 an evening for the time frame we wanted, times 8, which is $720, and a cash grant of $2,500 for a total grant request of $3,220. Thank you very much.
Any questions from members of council for Barry? Seeing none, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
We look forward to this year's summer concert. Our next presenter, we have 7 presenters left. And those of you that have just come in, I'm giving you each 7 minutes. You may have thought you had 10. You don't. Just lightening it up a little bit. We have to finish up by 5 because we've got a public meeting at 5 o'clock. So our next presenters are the Children's Foundation.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Deputy Mayor, Mayor, and Councilors. My name is Kate Anderson, and I am the Special Events and Marketing Coordinator for the Children's Foundation. We serve Hastings, Northumberland, and Prince Edward counties, and we are the not-for-profit organization directly associated with Highland Shores Children's Aid. So we provide programs and services for children in care as well as children in the community. And 2 of those main programs that involve children in the community as well are our Playing for Keeps and Camps of Hope programs. Playing for Keeps is a program that provides opportunities for youth and children between the ages of 4 and 18 to participate in any activity of their choosing, from sports to any kind of arts to music to anything they're interested in. We provide $500 per child per household per year. And our Camps of Hope program is exactly what it sounds like. It is a program to provide kids funds to attend camp year-round. So this includes summer camp, March break camp, winter break, after school, any kind of camp you can think of, and we offer that at $400 per child per year per household. We partner with multiple programs already in Northumberland to help get referrals for these programs. Rebound Child and Youth Services, the Therapeutic Family Care Program, and the YMCA are three of our biggest ones that help refer families. And we amalgamated into Northumberland County in 2015, and since then we have helped 137 youth for our Playing for Keeps program and 170 through our Camps of Hope program. And today we are asking for a total of $3,200 to provide $2,000 of that for Playing for Keeps and $1,200 for Camps of Hope, which would allow in total 7 youth the opportunity to participate in any activity or camp of their choosing. Thank you.
Sorry, did you give us your name?
Yeah, it's Kate Anderson.
Kate, I'm sorry. Yeah. Are there any questions for Kate? Councillor Beatty?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick question. Our application notes say it's not indicated in your request whether the funds would be used specifically for Cobourg children and youth?
Yes.
Knowing that you serve multiple counties?
Yes, sorry, yeah, they'd be specifically for children in Northumberland.
In Cobourg or Northumberland?
On Northumberland as a whole, okay. Yeah.
Any other questions for Kate? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next presenters are from the Oriana Singers. Keep waiting for somebody to either sing or play some music, but you know, it's just words. No pressure. No pressure.
Maybe the person beside me might do that. Thank you. I know we're in a rush here, so I'm going to move right along. It's great to have this opportunity to see what you people all do every day, and so thank you for that chance to be here.
It's pretty exciting, actually.
Well, it gets more exciting, I'm sure, but congratulations on the adoption of your cultural master plan for Cobourg. We have a vested interest in that, and I see there's lots of other people in the community with the same interest. It's quite the organization, or it's quite the town for arts, and we're happy to be in part of that. So this slide shows the North Meets South concert that we did, and we got funding assistance from you in 2019 for that. Thank you very much for that. It featured works by Canadian and American composers, past and present, highlighted contemporary choral works by local composers, Nancy Telford and Bob Grandy. The concert challenged and entertained was very well received, so thank you for your support. We ended our 49th season last year with a bang and provided great momentum and set a high bar for our next season, which begins in just 2 weeks. It's our 50th season this year. It's a momentous occasion for this not-for-profit volunteer-led organization and for the communities it serves. Over our 50-year history, hundreds of residents have taken part as choristers, music collaborators, and volunteers. Generations of people in town, in fact. Thousands more have played essential supporting roles as audience members, donors, and supporters. In the application for you, we're seeking funding assistance for a May 2020 concert entitled Celebrate, part of our 50th celebration. It's a gala concert and the culmination of this 50th season celebration. Celebrating musical contributions of singers, conductors, and others over 5 decades, and also the community which has sustained and motivated the choir towards this achievement. And now I'm going to introduce Lynn James, our artistic director, in her 2nd season and our 50th.
Our 50th season is an exciting time for us. This is a lot of history to honor. It's a strong legacy, and we've got a great season planned. As always, the Oriana Singer strives to present quality music programs that are interesting and well prepared, and our repertoire spans past and present, choral works from Canada and around the world. The choir right now is at 72 singers who hail from Cobourg and across Northumberland. The 50th season kicks off December 7th and 8th with a programming titled Christmas Favorites. It's choral selections that the choir members chose themselves. They were asked if they wanted to weigh in on what their favorite Christmas selections were. It promises to be fine music moments, and our guest is Mary Lou Follis, who has moved now into Northumberland, and she is our guest for the evening. It will be uplifting and funny if you know Mary Lou at all. And the next concert is Memories. Our March 2020 concert is going to revive our past commissions. Musical ensembles often commission composers to write music, and over 50 years means that Oriana has asked composers in Canada to write music for us, and so we will be reprising those commissions. Some of those commissions come from a choir member, Anne Burnham and Rod Anderson, and Canadians Mark Surrett, Ruth Watson Henderson, and Stephen Hatfield, and a brand new choral composition by our own accompanist and member of Oriana, Robert Grandy. Celebrate Gala. That's the subject of our community grant request to you for our final concert. It's entitled, as you can see, Celebrate. Special guests for our music program are going to be former music directors and accompanists and lots of associated people with Oriana. And our guests for the evening are the Safe Harbor Chamber Choir and the newly formed Song Youth Choir under the direction of Marie Anderson. Marie was the conductor and artistic director of Oriana for many, many years. And I'm sure you know that Song is a music organization that offers free and socially inclusive music programming, and they will be our guests for the evening. The concert is going to be held at Dalewood Golf and Country Club, just a change from our usual venues, which are churches. So moving it out of a church into the Dalewood Golf and Country Club for a bit of a festive atmosphere. Former choristers are also being invited back to participate and sing with the current choir. Your funding support will help determine the scope of our production, including the guest musicians' fees, acquisition of some new music, and production of audience engagement and the materials that we need for that evening, and also to get the Song Youth Choir to the Dalewood Golf and Country Club. I think it's amazing to celebrate an arts organization that has been in Cobourg and creating great music for 50 years. It's not an easy thing to have an arts organization that's been around for that long, and so I'm thrilled to be a part of this choir and this organization and hope you will consider our request. Thank you.
Thank you very much, both of you. Any questions from any members of council? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next presenter is Greenwood Coalition. Dave Sheffield.
Deputy Mayor Seguin and members of council, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for being here. I was just thinking that if anybody wants to know why we live in Cobourg, they should just sit here for the afternoon. Thank you for this opportunity to speak about Greenwood Coalition's application for a 2020 community grant. Our request is that the town of Cobourg would partner with us by providing financial support for Imaginate 2020, the annual social awareness, leadership, and development conference that Greenwood will be hosting here at Victoria Hall on April 16th and 17th. Greenwood Coalition is a radically inclusive street-level organization that uses a community model of caring to walk alongside people who are hungry, homeless, and hurting in Northumberland County. In our daily work at Greenwood Coalition, we aim to provide the right conditions for folks who are struggling to build strong and resilient lives in spite of past trauma and marginalization. Our aim for Imaginate is to take that intention to a wider audience and building a stronger and more resilient community in which we can all thrive. Imaginate has emerged over the past 6 years as a day-long conference and what we describe as an evening of possibility that will combine workshops, short talks, film, and music.
We will explore urgent social issues through a lens of personal stories while delivering information, entertainment, and motivation. While this event serves all of Northumberland County, 2020 will be the third year that we have mounted Imaginate in Cobourg. Past presenters at Imaginate include writers like Noah Richler, Drew Hayden-Taylor, and Smokey Sumac, musicians like Catherine McClellan, Birds of Chicago, and Lorraine Segato of Parachute Club, as well as such diverse personalities as broadcaster Tom Power, formerly homeless academic Jesse Thistle, and Dr. Gary Block, who is recognized internationally for his approach to socially equitable health care. The daytime conference accommodates an audience of 120, many attending for professional reasons. The evening program appeals to a wide cross-section of the community, especially those active in community initiatives and interested in exploring new ideas. The evening audience of approximately 250 is a very mixed demographic, with more than one-third being in the 25 to 44 age range, for example. With the town of Cobourg's leadership on social issues, community policing, and affordable housing strategies, we're pleased that we can offer the Imaginate Conference here as a unique and popular highlight on the town's calendar of events. Last year's conference and evening programs were both sold out, with 97% of those in attendance indicating that they would return for Imaginate 2020. The kind of community change that Imaginate fosters is very much in line with two of the town of Cobourg's strategic objectives. The first objective, people. The town supports and cares for the social and physical well-being of its citizens. Here's how we align with that one. From the beginning, Imaginate has been attracting a core group of staff and volunteers that are active in both formal and informal helping systems in our community. They tell us that this is an ideal opportunity to connect with others who are equally enthusiastic about learning creative ways to approach social service and healthcare delivery. The benefits of this event are spread across a number of partner agencies. And for many other attendees, Imaginate has become their way into involvement with building a stronger community. One of my favorite stories comes from a couple who, after attending Imaginate, went home and began to imagine that they could share their rural property with the community in some way. And 4 years later, their parcel of land is home to a weekly forest school that is taking kids on a great adventure of learning. The other alignment between Imaginate and Cobourg's strategic objective is partnerships. The town engages in strong, sustainable public-private partnerships to improve the quality of life for everyone. We know that a strong and resilient community can only be built by bringing together its various sectors under a shared vision. We're proud of the diverse network of support that Imaginate has built, and we believe it models the kind of partnership that the town is seeking to demonstrate. A volunteer leadership team meets year-round to organize the event, working with partners from all sectors in the community. In addition to business owners who believe that a strong and resilient community is a good place to do business, our partners have included local schools, Rotary clubs, health and social service agencies, Northumberland United Way, Cultivate Festival, and the Art Gallery of Northumberland. We invite Council to consider becoming a funding partner with Imaginate 2020, which will allow us to keep ticket costs at a level that is accessible to most people. And in addition, we can provide subsidized tickets to students and people who are unwaged. Most importantly, this funding will allow us to build capacity in our community to respond in positive ways to our local social challenges. The real impact, however, will be experienced by those in our community who are struggling with poverty, substance use, or mental illness, who benefit from the support of creative, compassionate, inclusive, and informed service providers. Imaginate is more than a conference, more than a theatrical event. When someone attends Imaginate, we want them to leave feeling like I can and I will do something that will make the world a better place. Imaginate is our call to action. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Any questions from members of council? Seeing none, thanks for your presentation. Moving on to the very patient final four. Dora Bodie from the Ecology Garden. It's almost like basketball or hockey or something. But
actually, I'm not that patient. I just don't have any choice.
You really don't.
No.
Welcome.
Anyway, good afternoon, and I'm Dora Bodie with the Coburg Ecology Garden, and I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to make my pitch. I'll start by telling you what we volunteers do, then I'll do a quick review of our proposed 2020 operating budget and future plans, and I'll finish up with highlighting how your financial support of the garden benefits the town. Now, when you're strolling through the garden, you may see us volunteers chatting with a visitor and get the impression that we just putter in the garden. And that's far from the case. The reality is that we devote an average of 1,500 to 1,600 volunteer hours per year to planning ongoing maintenance and new projects, working in the garden from the beginning of April through to the end of October, running fundraising and community events, raising community awareness via social media, and engaging youth through school group tours or projects. Of course, these things take money, which leads me to our 2020 operating budget. This budget covers maintenance and enhancement of the garden. It does not include major projects like the pop-up forest that we're developing. This year, we expect our costs to be a total of $3,425. This is in keeping with previous year's expenditures. The first $1,000 that we raise through events and donations is allocated to the operating budget, and it covers a shade under 30% of our projected expenses. For 2020, we're asking Council for a grant of $2,425 to cover the balance. Now, our grant application discusses the line items in the expense categories that you see here, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have at the end of the presentation. And you may be wondering, what happens to the money that when we raise more than $1,000 from the community? Well, the Ecology Garden covers 4/10 of an acre, and roughly 2/3 of it is developed. As you head west, it just suddenly stops at the Community Living's Inspiration Garden. Our long-term goal is to finish the west end of the garden. The major projects that we have in mind are creation of a forest in the northwest section of the garden where you see all those big trees, turning the southwest section into an area that transitions from the flora of the West Beach to the forest, and extending the accessible path from the Inspiration Garden onto meet the Durham Street entrance. When we're fortunate enough to exceed our $1,000 fundraising goal, the money is directed towards making these dreams a reality. We started our westward journey last year by purchasing a shed to service the accessibility gardens and the West End. We've since added a ramp to the shed entrance to make it more accessible and fully equipped it with tools. Then early this year, we met with park staff, a local landscape architect, and folks from the Ganaraska Region Conservation Authority to start planning the forest. As a result of these meetings, we know that the area can support 18 mature trees, a small seeding area, and shrubbery. We've started to implement the forest plan by planting 4 saplings and 6 seedlings this year. And we intend to complete the forest in 2020, and have reserved $900 of our 2019 donations to this end. Now, I'll move on to how your financial support of the garden benefits the town. The garden contributes to 9 of the 11 desired outcomes for the people and places pillars of your current strategic plan. In the case of the people pillar, the garden supports outcomes 3 through 7, namely, folks of all ages can engage in physical activity by volunteering in the garden. Working or walking in the garden contributes to physical health, while socializing with other people improves an individual's sense of well-being. We also engage youth through tours for school groups, the annual scavenger hunt, the new paint and pot event, and through community partnerships. And while touring or helping in the garden, youth are learning about nature and developing gardening skills. Also, our accessible path, benches, and picnic tables allow families with toddlers and folks with mobility challenges to spend time enjoying nature. In the case of the Places pillar, the garden supports 4 of the 5 desired outcomes. Being in the 24th year, the garden is a unique component of Cobourg residents' modern-day heritage. Residents' lives are enriched by the availability of this haven, where they can relax while listening to birdsong and watching bees and butterflies feast on nectar. The garden is a natural environment that we volunteers safeguard by working with Mother Nature instead of trying to control her. And with its profusion of trees, shrubs, vines, and flowers, the garden contributes to sustainability by being a haven for many forms of birds, butterflies, insects, and small mammals. Now, a couple of months ago, tens of thousands of youth across the country rallied for climate action and sustainability. By funding the Ecology Garden, you're showing Cobourg's youth that you're listening to their concerns. To wrap up, I'd like to thank Council for your consideration of our current grant application and for your support of the garden over the years. It's deeply appreciated by our gang of gardeners and the many members of our community who love the garden. Thank you.
Thank you, Dora. And thanks for coming in 1 minute under schedule. Any questions for Dora? Councillor Beattie?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I have 2 questions, if I may. The first is, can you clarify what organizational type the garden is? I have on my file no status. And secondly, can you just clarify, in the budget you presented in your slideshow, it showed differently what the requested funds would be spent on in the notes we have, and I just want to make sure that no support from the municipality will be supporting fundraising costs.
Sorry, your first question was?
The first question was to clarify
the type
your
of group?
organizational status. Whether
we're just a community group of volunteers. We don't have any formal status.
Okay, thank you. And then the second question was just to, in my notes, funding will be used for fixed costs, garden maintenance, equipment maintenance, annual events, and fundraising. But in your budget sheet, it showed that it would be supporting different costs. Really what I'm just trying to clarify is that the municipality grant won't be supporting fundraising costs.
Well, we have minimal fundraising costs. The years where we do a letter, it's the cost of printing about 100 or photocopying about 100 letters. So there is minor fundraising costs allocated under community engagement.
Any other questions for Dora? Seeing none, thanks so much.
Okay.
Our next presenter is Community Care Northumberland.
Good afternoon, Deputy Mayor, Mayor and Councillors. I'm Sherry Burney, and this is Alicia Van Dyne, Community Care Northumberland. So over the past 30 years, we've offered Meals on Wheels in the town of Cobourg. We currently have 4 routes. We deliver on the Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We deliver about 45 meals per day. We currently have about 50 or 60 clients, and we work with about 25 to 30 volunteers. Last year, we delivered just over 11,000 meals in the community. This program offers a nutritional meal. It also offers a wellness check, and it also offers friendships. So we were requesting some monies for the program to buy some more bags and also to do some orientation and training with our current volunteers. I also would like to thank you for participating in our March for Meals event last year. It was great. Heard some really good feedback from our clients, and our volunteers really were glad to help out and have you go with them. And we're hoping you could participate again next year. And that's it for us. We're short and sweet.
My apologies for all the tinkles and the noise.
No,
These
that's
things
fine.
have a mind of their own. That was nice, short and sweet.
I know.
Cool. Any questions? Mayor Henderson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for your presentation. I know your program well. Approximately of those that you visit, how many are localized to Cobourg?
So we have 4 routes in Coburg, and we have 1 out in the township. And so our average is about maybe 8 meals we deliver out in the township. So the 50, 60 clients, that's what we have in the town of Coburg.
Any other questions? Thanks very much.
Okay, you're welcome.
Leona, you're back up for the Coburg and District Historical Society. They must be paying you overtime today, right?
That's okay. Brent, could you pull that up for me somewhere, please? My presentation? Yeah. Yeah, the Historical Society is, but I can't find it there. Oh, there it is. Thank you. Thanks. Deputy Mayor, Mayor, Councillors, I think I may be the last presentation this evening, no? Okay, then I'll get to it. We are requesting an in-kind grant for the use of the Citizens Forum for our monthly meetings from January to April and September until November. The projected cost is $988.75 plus security, which is $527.94 for a total of $1,516.70. The Coburg and District Historical Society was established in 1981 by the late Marion Hagan. It's a registered charity, has approximately 130 members, and the average attendance at the meetings is about 50 members. Our mission is to promote an interest in and provide information about the history of Coburg and beyond, people, places, and events, and to encourage the preservation of our historical, architectural, and archaeological interests. How do we do this? Through monthly meetings, our website, our newsletter, appearances at the Coburg Canada Day Parade and the Coburg Santa Claus Parade this year, the support of the Victoria Hall volunteers by purchasing tickets and attending the Susanna Moody fundraiser. We have a very good working relationship with the archives, which were established by Marion Hagan and kept open by volunteers from the Coburg and District Historical Society in its formative years. We're working on a process to provide access to the James Coburn Room when Victoria Hall is open, and we answer questions, direct people to resources, accept donations, and pass them to the archives. And we are currently awaiting delivery of a pie crust table, originally owned by Nellie Sartoris when she lived at what is now St. Joseph's Villa. Here are some of our speakers. We'd like to invite you to join us. Our annual fees are students $10, adults $30, families $50, guests $5, and corporate membership $60, of which we have none. Our meetings are the fourth Tuesday of each month. They begin at 7:30, preceded by a half hour of coffee, refreshments, and conversation. We consider it a privilege to meet in Victoria Hall. It's a perfect place for us. It's accessible. It has audio-visual capabilities that our speakers use. And with the grant that you provide, we're able to meet in a National Historic Site steeped in local history, a centerpiece of Coburg's heritage. So thank you very much for your attention and for your support over the past years.
Thank you, Leona. You forgot to mention all the great cookies you make before every meeting.
Oh, yeah.
That's really why everybody goes. Are there any questions from any member of council? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're up, Mario.
Now you want a music? There you go.
Sorry,
Of course, Mario is representing.
Okay, let me see if I can. I need to turn it off. I need to turn it off.
Yeah, you're going to use up your 7 minutes just playing on the music.
Buenas tardes, members of council, mayor and deputy mayor. How are you today? Okay, it's very simple. Northumberland Hispanic Culture Club was formed back in 2014, and basically was a gathering of friends, and we had a Latino night party. And throughout the years, we noticed that the attendees for that Latino night party was not only Hispanic, but it was basically 60-70% of non-Hispanic, all walks of life. So back 3 years ago, the board did quite a few changes, and Emilio joined the board, and we came up with several, I would say, quite a bit of activities for Northumberland Hispanic Culture Club, because we noticed that we needed to convey the community, our culture, our food, our dancing, how we have fun. So we started doing the Latino night party that is 5 years. Okay. It's been 5 years. And last year we created the art gallery in Colburn. We created a film festival that was in the Loft, and it's all Hispanic movies with, this year actually we had a Canadian-Chilean director. We have the Latinlicious dinner, and it was incredible. It was in the Craft. The restaurant was packed, and only 4 of us were Hispanic. The rest was all Canadians or French or English. We don't know, but they really loved the food. It was paella and everything. And then we had a concert as well last year in the Loft. This year we did quite a few changes, and we involved Victoria Hall. And that's something that Emilio would like to mention.
Hi. So yes, for the Northumberland Hispanic Heritage Month, we got the Northumberland Council to give us October as historically in Canada as the Hispanic Heritage Month. So we decided to get a bunch of cool events to bring to the community to explore our cultures and to make aware people from the community what we are, what we like, what we like to share. So we began with the Art and Heritage Exhibition, Hispanic Film Festival, as Mario said, that is in the Loft, and it's well attended. We have a concert. This year was a Venezuelan musicians from 19th century, a rebel. For those who like the woman history in 1900s, a woman with 4 marriages was kind of wow. So, but she was an amazing and a prodigy. Noche Latina is our main feature, where people just come for a nice Hispanic meal, and also all-night dance. So, and Latinlicious, we are trying to get some of the restaurants to prepare a special Hispanic meal or Latin meal, and around the county. I have to say that I will say that 95% of the events happen in Coburg. So, and the club mostly work from Coburg. Even we are our mandate is all Northumberland. Most of the our attendees or members are from Coburg. So here's our project for 2020. We are going to have an active participation in Canada Day Multicultural Festival. And that is we are partnering with the county and the Rotary Club to do the Canada Day, and also the Multicultural Festival. So I'm very involved in that. We want to participate in other festivals, like the Coburg Sand Castle Festival and Christmas Parade and all that stuff. We did last year for the first time, not for the first time, sorry. For the first time, we had a float in the Canada Day Parade, and it was a very successful time. Was very fun. I danced a lot that day. I love it. We have, the guy is already left. We have future project with the Northumberland Orchestra and Choir. We are in talking part from probably in a couple of years, so we can have a series of concerts about Latin American composers. And one of the things is we would like to open a charity trust to give more help to our communities, say here or abroad. So we are just asking in kind for now. Also, a little bit of money to help us with the festival next year, the Hispanic Heritage Month. But mostly, the money is towards fees involved for the Victoria Hall. We had a great concert this year there, and we had an amazing party. People were raging about the space and how well went, and I'm going to let Mario to explain a little bit more about that.
Actually, the Latino party started in Colburn, and then we went to the Best Western, and we decided to raise the bar, and we did it in Victoria Hall. And feedback that we've had from every person that went that night, and I might add 65% were not Hispanic that night. They loved it. So that's why we're asking in kind for the Victoria Hall for the concert and the Latino night, and a little bit of cash of $1,350 that we need for the support of many of these events. Thank you very much.
Any questions from members of council? Thank you.
And we teach dancing that night, by the way.
And thank you for the musical interlude. That was that was great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And for further notice, the next steps as we go forward with this long procedure, thank you all for sitting through this. Councillor Bureau is the coordinator for arts, culture, and tourism. And on the 9th of January, he will be bringing forward his motions in support of all that you've presented today, or partial support, no support, or full support. We don't know yet. It won't be full support, obviously, because we just don't have the funds to do that. But those will be part of the 2020 budget deliberations that will take place from 10 that morning here in council chambers till 5. And if we need more time, it'll be extended to the next day, which is January the 10th. So thank you so much for coming. We learned a lot about what goes on in this community. And I need a motion for adjournment, please. Councillor Burkhardt. Thank you. We are adjourned.